All right, welcome in not SimEra. We are not SimEra. We are CUM. No, I'm just kidding. CML. Um, it's been a while, guys, but we decided we were going to do a podcast because I don't know, we're kind of bored. I feel like you guys might be a little bored. It's getting into the second, third month of Madden. So I wanted to just talk about some things and you know just have a nice little chat. I am joined by our supreme leader and Commissioner Cobbs. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, this should be fun. It's only season two, and we're already at the point where we have to like put on a little outfit and like bang some tambourines or whatever to keep everyone engaged. But we'll do what we need to do, I guess.
Anything to keep the morale up. I feel like I have aged 12 years since August just based on the glitches and bugs of this Madden alone. And we appreciate all of you guys sticking it out as we do our best to kind of navigate I don't know how you would describe it, but the everlasting and ongoing terrors of what it is to deal with this game. It has not been easy, and like I said, it's we've had our hiccups at moments, and we appreciate you guys sticking around and doing everything you can to help the league. We obviously appreciate everyone and just hope that everything runs smooth the rest of the way out. We feel like we have grips on a lot of the issues. I think we're going to be okay with the draft going forward. Fingers crossed. There might be new glitches by then. Who knows? You know what
Yep.
I mean? But yeah, I mean, so real quick, I guess we could just talk about this cycle so far. Like, any thoughts that you have? Truth won the Super Bowl season one to everyone's surprise with the Bengals. We saw that coming.
Yep. Yeah, it's been super interesting. I feel like there's a lot of like movement on who is a potential contender, or at least who's a playoff team. Like the NFC side of things had kind of like a really odd Final Four, unexpected. I think it was X Dog and Jagu as the final two,
Yeah,
which I guess you would have seen coming based on our preseason podcast, but
that's the Oracle though.
most others wouldn't. Right.
Not everybody has access to my visions.
Right. But yeah, the AFC side was, I guess, a little bit more conventional. Um, Wallace in the AFC Championship was a new one, certainly, and Truth, ruined all the fun narratives basically and just kind of plowed through in the end. But not,
As he does.
he didn't blow people out though. It was like nail biter, clutch wins, one after another. It's very annoying. Obviously, I was on the receiving end of one of those, but Truth does that too.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot this year. Like Truth is, I mean, just gonna say it. He's the best Madden player I've ever played with, and it's not even necessarily because like he does anything like that's above and beyond scheme wise, or like he's not that inventive offensively. It's just like he is so clutch and he doesn't make mistakes. And I always make fun of him as a passer, but then like I watch all these stupid hot routes that he makes, and then it's like what? How can no one beat this guy? And then it works out, and he makes a perfect read, and his timing's perfect, and it's insanely frustrating. And like, I think he's probably the favorite again this year, if I were to guess. But
Yeah.
like watching the game against Dan last night, Dan had him dead to rights, and then all of a sudden he gets two pick sixes in a row, and Truth didn't play good the first half. You know what I mean? So and then he comes out of it and clutches up, and
No, I was laughing because from what I saw, Dan made zero mistakes, played pretty much a perfect game in the first half, and then he finally makes the one mistake, throws a pick six, and it's tied. Like Dan had outplayed him for the full game and one mistake, and now it's tied again. So,
yeah, and that's all it takes. like
yep,
we've seen it happen plenty of times. Like Dan in the Super Bowl, I think it was like two cycles ago.
yep.
Dan was in the Super Bowl against him, and Dan was up like 14-0 going into halftime, and Truth scored real quick with like 3 minutes left in the second, and then right before half, he had like an 85-yard run with Barkley. And Dan after the game was like, "Well, I didn't lose because of Barkley." I was like, "Well,
I remember that.
kind
Yeah,
of did
yeah.
because if
I,
not for the 80-yard run,
Yeah, he held Barkley in check except for the 80-yard run, and I think a bunch of runs after that.
right? Yeah, which actually is a good segue, I guess, into one of the topics we wanted to discuss today, which I don't know how familiar most of the league is with this. We see it daily in the admin chat, and I'm sure you guys have seen it over the last couple of years. But we wanted to just touch base and discuss Dan theories. Um, I don't even know how to start. What would you want
Yeah.
to?
So Dan theories are pretty infamous. What's funny is I guess he even gets a little shit for this in over on the SML side. Um, Dan's known for trying to kind of come up with like some niche theory that it's always like the holy grail. It unlocks, everything about the game. This
I
one
think
thing.
I think
If
I figured Madden out.
Exactly. But it's always like some super specific niche thing. So last year, famously, Dan was doing just some absolutely insane things with his QB position management. Um, he started out with just QB doesn't matter. So that's kind of, you'll see us say QB doesn't matter. That's what we're referring to. KP has said that on and off. He's agreed with that Dan theory, but that was one of the original theories. You can use any QB, and he'll get it done. Um, so that led to Dan, acquiring people like, what's his name? The guy who used to play for the Bills. He's a tight end now. Um,
Oh,
he played for UB. I'm forgetting the guy's name. He was terrible on Madden.
Tyree Jackson.
Yes, Tyreek Jackson. He's 60 overall. Big throw power. He's kind of fast on Madden. He was awful, as you can imagine, in the game before and after Dan acquired him. Then there was Easton Stick. Uh,
Yes.
Also horrendous. And that kind of, so we were wondering what the hell is Dan doing? Uh, that's where his theory emerged that QB release is the only thing that matters.
At all. Not accuracy, not throw power,
Yeah.
QB release. The animation that they get and
Now,
that the Q.
Yeah, now there have been times where Dan kind of like moderates that theory and he's like, oh, well, you actually need your accuracy over 80. I thought it was lower than that. But eventually he retreats back to just, oh, nope, it's just release. Sometimes he'll be like, oh, maybe throw under pressure. But like at the end of the day, I think it's pretty clear. Like Dan is like a peer QB release truther. Um, and that's carried over. Like people wonder why is he so excited about Jordan Love? He's an older prospect, and of course it comes out. He has a nice QB release, which Dan's passing okay with him. I can't roast him too bad for that one.
So he
But
is. I was looking at this, but compared to his Rogers numbers, which obviously Rogers is very different, but
yeah.
he is completing 79% of his passes, but he has 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions, which
Oh,
is
okay. Yeah.
so, especially for him this cycle. But after every game, either in admin chat or in main chat, he makes a statement about how Jordan Love is so good and he gets it done.
Yeah.
Like,
So
maybe, but I watched Jordan Love last night and he was not great.
yeah. So we actually have our new Dan theory of Madden 23. I'm not even sure how to like concisely summarize this one. I think it just originates from trading for Ed Oliver from me and trying to like shove it in my face and reverse engineering a theory out of that.
Yeah, I would
But
say it started as like I have a theory, but I don't really have a theory, but I'm gonna make one up because I want to. Like,
right. Yeah, right, exactly. It's Dan needs a theory. So this one is basically that, first of all, it started out as edge threat is overrated. Okay. Most people agree edge threat is good, but I guess you could say what he was trying to say is like you don't need edge threat. So that's fine.
right.
But then at varying points, he said that DT pressure is more important, and basically that Ed Oliver is the DT equivalent of like Slinger 1 on a QB. Basically, as long as you have specifically Ed Oliver, you've unlocked the key to Madden. Now, for those of us who watch his streams, Dan plays good defense. We have seen a lot of coverage sacks.
We try to tell him this every time the topic
Yeah,
comes up. Like, you have elite secondary personnel and you play
right.
mostly man or cover four, like
Yes.
the matching cover fours.
It-
So, like, you have people that are not open most of the time. So
right.
you're going to
So
get pressure.
so we have Ed Oliver, who's pretty fast, who if he sheds, when someone's holding the ball, he's going to get to the QB quickly. I don't know if that requires like a full theory, conspiracy, whatever, but I guess that's something that Dan has determined. And, he's got Gary, who has double or nothing ability. So I think that theory might need some work. I think that there might be a lot of truisms mixed in there of like, yeah, you can get pass rush without edge threat, and DTs can get to the quarterback faster when they're fast if people are holding the ball. I think
Of
that's
course.
basically
And then
what it is.
the theory is even morphing a little bit. And I saw the wheels turning last night because after his game, he goes, I don't know why Drake Jackson is getting so many sacks. And I'm like, well, I think it's because of your coverage. And he goes, I don't know. I have to investigate it.
Right. I
Like,
mean, honestly, the problem is the sample size is just too small for all of this stuff. And the answer for most of it, I think, is just dice rolls. Because, like, for example, I had Rousseau last year. He got injured, much to Dan's delight, and missed like the final, I think, 5 weeks of the season. He had like 7.5 sacks. He probably would have finished with 10. This year, he has one. You know, like
yeah,
there's not much difference. I mean, there were patches and stuff like that, but I don't think there's anything special or bad about Rousseau. It's just maybe who I was playing. Maybe he got 3 sacks against somebody who's, playing like an idiot. I don't know, but
of course. And I will say, too, to Dan's defense, the years where he is right about his theories are the years where he goes on like a historical tear. Like, if he gets the theory right season one and builds his team around what he thinks is right. Like, I remember I mean, this is years ago before most of the people in this league were here, but it was when you didn't get tokens, you got XP and could put it into whatever ability or attribute you wanted. And he figured out very early that play recognition was all that mattered for coverage. So his whole team played like they had 99 everything because he just dumped it all in the play rec, and you couldn't get anybody open against him. And he went like 60-0 with one. Well, he lost to A-Rod fan, and then he ended up being so good and his team was so dominant that he switched teams mid-cycle to
yeah,
give everyone else in the league a chance.
yeah, I remember that. And he has picked up on some things that are actually significant over the years too. Like he was very quick on the like age thing for development of like, hoarding like 20-year-olds. He went a little insane with it in previous years, but it is like a real thing. Like you don't want a 23, 24-year-old rookie. That's the kiss of death. So um, but yeah, I do remember the one year Dan drafted all like 19-year-old 40 overall players in the draft and then just like peacocked afterwards.
Yeah, but then it was one of those drafts where it was like he wasn't right. Like it was like his theory was right that like younger players develop faster, but he was stuck with a bunch of 40 overall players.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it wasn't a good draft.
right.
Yeah.
He went a little overboard there. But yeah, no, I mean it is always funny to watch, and it is funny as you mentioned that it is known in SML too, because when I was in Primer last summer and I joined, I was talking with Prime, who is like the guy that runs SML, and he was laughing about Dan theory, and I was like, "Oh my god, you guys have like a thing for it too? Like you make fun of him?" And it was like, "Yeah, so it is universal that and it's known that this is how he is, which is
Yeah.
fine. It's always a treat to argue with him and tell him he's wrong.
Oh, it
Um,
is.
and sometimes he is right, but more often than not, he's kind of crazy with the theories that he has.
Yeah.
So, anyways, our moving on, we thought it would be fun. Um, the league is we have a lot of personalities in the league. Tensions get high in chat sometimes. We like to joke about toxicity, but we are a community and we do appreciate one another. But at the same time, there are often moments where rants, it's almost like we should have a Hall of Fame for. I joked about this the other day that if someone lost a game, that the rant would be hanging in the rafters because um, we've had some legendary rants over the years in Discord. So we figured we would do a segment of the top three rants for Madden 23 so far. Um, Cobbs, I don't know if you want to kick it off.
Sure. So number three, I figured we would start with one in recent memory. We had Na versus Sensei uh, on the topic of Michigan versus Georgia.
I wouldn't even know if I would qualify it as Na versus Sensei more than just Na versus Na.
Na- yeah, Na versus any opposition to Georgia.
Or even the SEC for the most part.
Right. So yeah, you were. I think you were a little more engaged with that one. Were there any kind of like bullet points not hit on there?
I mean, it was basically, well, at one point he said that Georgia was going to give everyone at Michigan STDs. And nobody really knew what that meant. But then he said, because we're a bunch of dirty dogs.
I think I
Which,
missed that one.
and like to like watch it, like, I mean, I don't know if he's ever going to figure this out, but I feel like most people troll him and he reacts and just keeps going and going. And I know Sensei is a Michigan fan,
Right.
but I don't even know that Sensei believes that Michigan would beat Georgia. But all it took was Sensei saying one time that Michigan is good enough to beat Georgia. That Na went on a 45-minute rant about how Michigan was a bunch of little kids and Georgia was even better than last year, and nobody from the Big Ten can beat anybody from the SEC, and it just turned into one of those. I mean, it was very funny to watch, and it was bothering me because it was right when the Jeff Saturday news got dropped, and that's all I wanted to talk about. But the entire chat was dominated by whether or not Georgia would beat Michigan by 40 points,
Yep. Yeah.
and it was like over and over, and I was just like, I was laughing out loud watching it happen because it was just, I mean, it was an intense rant.
Well, what's funny is like Sensei is like not even trying to like get away with trolling. Like he'll just say stuff like, Georgia's defense is bad now, and now I'll be
Right,
like, what?
right, yeah, he falls right into it, and it's very funny to watch. Yeah, Na is one of the guys who probably has the best rants. So number two on the list. Oh wait, it's another Na rant. We have two Na rants.
No,
Okay,
that's surprising.
I know. So number two is actually Na's rant about freeform on the first day that Madden came out. I don't know if any of you are in chat for this, but this was a rant that. I don't. Do you want to explain it?
Sure, absolutely. So it was coming from the perspective. First of all, it was a call to action, so to speak, for the admin team of we have to immediately ban classic style passing because classic is so OP in comparison to the new freeform that it would force everyone to use classic. Just it'll be the immediate meta that's guaranteed. Nas cited such evidence as going into a Skimbo stream for about 10 to 15 seconds and saying, "Oh, Skimbo says he's not really liking the new freeform." So yeah, we did actually entertain that for a little bit because we were thinking like, oh well, that would kind of suck. Maybe we'll wind up, in that scenario where none of us can use the new freeform if Classic is that much better. Um, Now, what's ironic is for anyone who like knows a little bit, I guess, about say like MCS or pro players, stuff like that, nobody uses Classic because it's not better at all.
It's
Freeform
not
is
good.
is significantly better, um, and most people I think have kind of settled on a similar setting. I highly doubt anyone in the league is using like far or no max distance at this point. But near, I mean, it's the same shit, but you can pass lead. Um, So yeah, that was a classic. Just because I think implied like the admins were fucking up terribly by not making a ruling on that. So
which is really funny after our other topic about Dan theories. We could probably do an entire podcast on Nah theories.
oh, for sure.
Because it is always like the game comes out and within 6 hours of playing the game, he has the whole game figured out and knows what needs to be banned and then what is like this is going to be game break, and it's never right because the game's been out for 8 hours and none of us know. But his unflinching confidence and refusal to ever back down is, and honestly, it's I kind of appreciate it in a
Absolutely.
strange way.
Yeah. And like not to like just pile on now, I'll say that he'll like he knows Madden really well. Like in general, he'll figure it out as well as anyone. But he should just take those first couple of days off and just kind of process, because that's where he always, like you said, he just like buries himself. Like where we can, we have our nice archiving and Discord.
Which
We
is
can
amazing.
absolutely we can always revisit Nas. It's because he phrases it like we all jump out with our hot takes, but Na tells us like it's scientifically the case like within like minutes of playing the game.
Right.
So
There's no other way that it could be other than this way.
yeah.
And okay, I agree. We should stop piling on Nah. We did the first two with Nah. So the number one rant of the cycle. Oh boy. Oh, never mind. This one's Nah too. Okay.
Well,
I
sometimes
guess
that's just how it goes.
we'll keep piling on. I guess. The number one rant of the cycle. I guess this could be about like 15 different rants, but we went with the first. Actually, the time he beat Jagu at the beginning of season one is the number one rant that we decided. Number obviously because of how it's turned out since, I think, is what makes it even funnier.
Yeah, that was quite a moment. I have to say, we'll get into this in a bit, but I think none of us were fully knew what to expect with Jagu, and then out of that game, I think Na was a heavy favorite going in, and it wound up being kind of a nail biter. So I think the vibe in the chat was just busting Na's balls a little bit that he was playing a tight one with the new guy, and we hadn't heard a whole ton from Jagu in chat at that point. We had, but not in the way that he
That he
came
is now.
out. Yeah, that was kind of the birth of Jagu's like alter ego. And yeah, it was just back and forth. I think Na tried to do the famous like you suck, because after he almost lost to somebody, and Jagu just wasn't having it.
Yeah, Jagu bit right back. I mean, we heard the term run bots how many times last season.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been really funny to watch because like Jagu posted the other day when they played, like you're losing by 40 next time. Next time you're losing by 40. No, next time you're losing by over and over again. And like I said, it's like that unflinching confidence that he has to never back down from anything. And it's been very, very funny to watch. Like it's every single time and he's calmed down a little bit now. I think he's a little beaten down by just the mechanics of the game and how the game behaves most of the time, because sometimes you can have a game where it's like, why do I even play this shit? Because I got every single animation against me. Ritter is not completing passes, but it's like watching him versus Jagu is must watch. Number one, they're always good Madden games, but number two, for the rant afterwards, it was
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't prod it not too much after his losses, but of course, I do find them funny. Um, okay, slight technical difficulties there, but yeah. So uh, I don't go at Nah too hard after his losses, but it's funny. He knows that the chat is all waiting for the rant, and I of
right.
course enjoy those too. And I've seen the evolution where he's tried, he'll chill a little bit after a loss and be more like introspective, and then for a while he was doing that, and then Jagu would just appear out of nowhere and be like, "Oh, you lost again, bitch," or something like
Right,
that.
right,
And
right.
it's just like it sets him right off again. He was like, "Jagu, what the fuck? Don't talk to me." And we've gotten a few different beautiful interactions like that.
It's incredible. And the funny thing too is that like Jagu is like that with everyone now. Like when he was talking shit to Warren the one time, I was like, dude, Warren has been in this chat like 4 times ever. What are you why are you going at this dude right now?
Yeah.
And even Warren was like, what the fuck? Like,
So, what do you think? Maybe now we can give the origin story of Jagu a little bit. And
yeah, I mean, that's a great thing to segue into because I think he's probably the story of Madden 23.
has
Like
to be. Yeah.
easily.
So I can kind of give you guys the backstory. We didn't know Jagu that well. He literally came out of nowhere like one day. I think he joined the server. I don't know who invited him. I remember asking him who invited him, and he said something like I had people like reach out to leadership. He said something like very vague or odd like that. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so nobody referred to. And he was like super active late in the year, just in chat, like always like positive attitude, um, just like excited to play games, whatever. Not remotely like his persona this year. So
No, he's a different person.
of course. So that's why we like kind of like thought it was funny a little bit. We was just like a random member, and we just assumed because he was just like very good attitude pro sim league that he might be a pushover. To be quite honest, no offense, Jagu, but that was a little bit of the origin of the meme, and so we started predicting. Just because he was the most random member, Spook actually on our prediction show said Jago is going to win the Super Bowl season 1.
And he was so close.
Like at the time of saying that, I think all of us would not have predicted Jagu to make the playoffs if we're just being honest. Like
100%.
yeah,
None of us
that,
knew who he was. Like he would
right.
comment, he'd comment in chat, and then like the admin chat, one of the admins would be like, "Who is this? Like where did he come from? Like I don't know who this is," and he would never tell us. Like
Right. He's implied that there is some origin story like to how he got here, but I don't know if we'll ever get that. It might be like a Joker thing where it's just we need to not know.
I think it's almost better off not knowing.
Right.
Like I think it's the greatest story. Like it's without question the best story of Madden 23. Like he's good. Like he's really good. He played Dan twice, like back to back because they disconnected. And the game, 2 games, it was 8 quarters, and it got decided by 3 points. Like, and if you play Dan twice, like Dan's gonna figure out what you're doing usually, and like
Yeah.
he couldn't make adjustments, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just very funny that it turned out that the random guy that nobody knows, he came out of the woods like Bagger Vance or something,
Absolutely.
taught us all how to play Madden, and like
Yeah.
he's really good. Like it's
He,
funny.
yeah. I beat him this year on basically the last play of the game. He gave me a really tough game. Obviously, he had Truth on the ropes. Truth, kind of figured out how to shut down his run game eventually, which almost nobody else has been able to do.
Right.
Um, and he just has like this bizarro style. Like we joke about run bots, but he really like he'll run 40 times. Like I had mentioned when we played our game, he had 40 seconds left and no timeouts, and he ran back to back hurry up jet sweeps against me. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I've seen him do 2 minute drills with just touch passes.
yeah, which I was stunned by, but it kind of worked to an extent. It at least moved the chains for him. He was able to stop the clock and like get into the red zone. But yeah, so there's that. There's the gameplay element that he's actually like one of the better players. And then just the evolution of, like I said, he started out as kind of just like this positive attitude. Like we just thought he was like your average random like sim league participant, and he morphed into just this like brash shit talker who's like calling out every opponent he faces, including dudes who never say two words in chat, he's like, "Prepare your ass, I'm coming in hot," like stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, great addition to the league. I think he's even like, despite their back and forth, he's even like won now over because he's actually like he's a good dude. He's entertaining.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Like this chat, like, and I almost wonder, like, if he like kind of stayed in his shell until he saw how insane the rest of the league was with the way we talked to each other, and then
I,
was like, "Oh, I
it's
can be myself."
yeah, that's what it feels like. He's like, oh, okay, they're way more toxic. So
Right?
yeah,
Oh man, no, that's great. Like I said, it he needed his own segment just because it is undoubtedly the coolest story of the year. Like this guy that like like you can't say it clear enough. Like we're all like, all right, this dude's probably gonna play 10 games and then leave. Because he was asking about like when we were picking teams in like May. And we were all like,
right.
oh, this dude is really trying to get in the league.
Yeah,
Like,
he's thirsty, but
yeah, and it like I said, it turned out like he's one of the better owners this cycle. Like he's very balanced. He's good at defense. Like he's great at running the ball, and like he gets it done passing with like a terrible quarterback too.
yeah,
Like and he wins. It's just been really it's been fun to watch. I love the dude. Like he's a great addition. I hope he sticks around for a while.
yeah,
So, but
agreed.
yeah. Anyways, I feel like we're probably good. We're at like 30 minutes now.
Yeah, it was a
Stay
good
tuned. We're
chunk.
probably going to try to do more of these. It's just been like this league has been, like I said at the beginning, just like every other day. It's like we found out about some game breaking thing that happens to franchise, and having to deal with that, and it gets to the point where you're so exhausted. Like the last thing you want to do is talk about Madden for 30 minutes. like so. Like we haven't really done these, but we're at the point in the year where like everything's kind of running smoothly. Like I feel like we have everything under control. So we'll probably start doing more of these. If any of you guys ever want to hop on and do a guest spot, like just let us know and we can design a show around like what questions to ask you guys and everything. Like we've done that in the past. So if you ever want to hop on, by all means, like let us know. But other than that, stay tuned. Maybe like in a couple weeks, we'll do another one, maybe before the playoffs. We are getting down to the nitty gritty of season two. It's getting crunch time where, the playoffs are starting to shape up and we're going to see who's pretenders and who's actually going to make a run. So that's all I
Yeah.
got, man. Anything else from you?
No, yeah, just hang in there. I know obviously some people are out of it for the season. It's easy to kind of like get a little bored with it, but we'll be starting a new season soon enough. It's possible we'll even have a working draft for this season, but definitely no promises on that. But we've made it through a lot, so I appreciate everyone hanging in there, and yeah, we'll catch up with you guys next time.
All right. Awesome. Let's go get them, boys. All right. See
All
you later,
right.
guys.